Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of NC-17. My name is Josh, and today with us we have a very special guest. Her name is Myrna. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. It's my honor. Uh, so before we get into the movies you've been in and the films and TV shows and stuff, kind of if you can give a little bit of a background of like, was this something you've always dreamt about doing, or was it something that kind of just fell into your life, into your hands?
Well, I kind of stumbled into filmmaking. I was in plays in high school, and then I worked in information technology for a really, 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 really long time. And friends of mine were starting to have bucket lists, things like, extravagant trips to exotic locations. And I didn't really want to do that. But I thought, I'm probably old enough, I should have a bucket list. So the first thing on my bucket list was to be on Chicago PD, the TV show. So I started to look into how they did casting for background extras and figured that out and kind of stalked that group for a while. And when I applied, I was selected the very first time and was like super, super excited about it. And then later on, I would network with people, took acting classes, got a couple of talent agents, so started performing as an actor with speaking roles, and then ran into Steve Herman, who runs Acristar Productions, and started working with him in the lines of a producer. And so I've produced with him, I have directed with him, and I am co-owner of Acristar Productions.
Oh. That's a lot of good accolades.
Yeah, kind of like crawling my way up the ladder, I guess.
Oh yeah. uh so did you ever get on Chicago PD?
Well, thing about background is you just never know what's going to end up on the cutting room floor. And I was new to all of this, fascinated by the process, and I was really stoked because I was picked to be the only background person in a scene with two of the principal actors. And I thought, there's no way that I can't be seen, like I'm right up next to them. I won't be super blurry or anything. And so I told everybody ahead of time, watch the episode. And they just did not use that camera angle at all.
Hmm.
And so my car made it onto the show because I was booked with my car. But I did not make it onto the show myself.
Oh yeah. Uh so getting into, like you getting your foot wet in producing and directing and stuff like that, that came before you became, like in front of the camera, sort of say, more so you were producing a lot. Which would you say is harder, producing, directing, or acting?
They're all so different. Having done all of them, and again, this is from the perspective of an indie film where there are very few crew people. Producing is definitely the most work because you kind of do whatever the director is not doing. So I do things from finding props, making props sometimes, making wardrobe pieces, finding wardrobe, set decoration. I take care of all the food on set as well because we never make enough money through crowdfunding to have a catered meal. Like one of my big goals is to be able to have at least one catered meal for a feature film, rather than me being in the kitchen. But like I make just kind of quick prep stuff because I don't want to spend a whole lot of time. And a lot of times it'll be like, well, oh, okay, it'll be dinner time in 10 minutes. Well, it might take me 20 or 30 to get it all together. But, I do all the shopping and stuff like that ahead of time. It's just so much more cost effective than having food catered. We don't want to throw extra money into something like food when people are well fed the way we're doing it. It just takes more of my time. I also, like I'll hold the boom mic. What other weird things do I do? I transport a lot of our gear. So, like our dolly setup lives in my house because I have room for all those contraptions. So yeah, when I came back from set last weekend, you couldn't possibly put anything else in my car. I have like a midsize SUV unless you put it on the front dash. Like I had a person in the one person in the back seat that was just surrounded by gear. I mean, yeah, totally packed in there. Because I needed to, give a couple people a ride. So yeah, I'm gonna have to start like I guess maybe looking into a transport van or something like that someday. I don't know, like I'd rather just be able to, maybe pay somebody else to like help us out. But again, we're always, kind of scraping together the funds and we tend to put our money toward the actors and then some post-production folks as well for a composer and a sound editor. Those things are vital. Steve Herman does most of our editing and post-production. He does all of it. I shouldn't say most. He does all of it. Um, and then I do things like the preparation of deliverables for distribution, things like making the movie poster, designing the cover for physical media, like filling out the music cue sheet, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I do a lot of different tasks. People always wonder, how could you possibly be busy? This is like your retirement job. I'm like, well, there's a lot to do.
Oh yeah. So some of your earlier acting roles were, well, I think it says 2020 was The Strange Case of Lucy Chandler. You played Lucy's mom.
Yes, that was a web series. It's probably still out there somewhere on the director's website.
Uh, what was that filming like? What what was uh what was it like filming on there? Had to get my words right. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, again, a very small production. It was actually a husband and wife team. The wife played my daughter. The husband was the writer. He was the cinematographer. He's the editor, all that kind of stuff. But super nice people. Very flexible to work with. They came up with a really cool story. So I hope I haven't checked on that in a long time. But I did see episodes out on their website at one point in time. But yeah, I should check back on that one because it's a really cool story.
Uh, uh, let's talk about the first one I've seen you in,
Mhm.
Attack of the Corn Zombies.
There's a fun ride.
Oh yeah, you play Rosie. What
Yes.
was it like being on that set? I love zombie movies,
Yeah.
so this is gonna be fun.
Yeah, so the idea for this one came up when we were filming a different film. So another AcroStar production. It came from somewhere, which is like a 1950s creature feature, sci-fi style film, kind of Ed Wood, Roger Corman, intentionally like as if we had filmed it in the 50s. And we were sitting around, we were wrapped for the day, we were sitting around the fire pit, relaxing, let's just say, just use that general term. And the younger people on the set started, they're all adults, but way younger than me. They started kind of, we were next to a cornfield, like right next to a cornfield. And so they started kind of like running through the cornfields, making videos and stuff. And somebody said, "Oh, wouldn't it be fun to do a zombie movie?" And being that we were surrounded by corn, Steve Herman came up with this idea that they would be called corn zombies because the corn, this town, is a bunch of farmers with grown corn. They have a corn festival every year, and somehow the fertilizer had a little bit of a problem to it in trying to like improve the yield. It ended up making people turn into zombies. So I'm actually like the first one to turn in that film, and I'm not in the sequel. So you could assume that things don't go well for me. But yeah, we had a blast making that one. The makeup on it is awesome, and we have done a sequel called Return of the Corn Zombies, which is in the final stages of editing now. It'll go to the distributor, Bayview Entertainment, by the end of April. And then they will proceed to get it out on streaming platforms and physical media for us. But the sequel is a darker tone. So kind of the tone of the first one is, you have your cliche stereotypes of the late 60s. You've got stoners, you've got greasers, I'm a farmer. It's really a stereotype of 60s, but it's there's more levity in the first one. There's like very, very little levity in the second one. It's much more apocalyptic in the look and feel because there's just like way more zombies than there are human beings at that point in time.
So playing Rosie, because like you said, you're the first to turn. When you was reading the script, because I mean, since you were there pretty much for everything, what was your first initial thought?
My initial thought was, oh my gosh, I have a scene with Lynn Lowry, and she is like so cool and so experienced that I hope I can hold my own. But she's the sweetest person to work with. Just so easygoing. I was thrilled that she would even work with us. When I first approached her about working with us, I was almost like afraid to ask her because we'd been friends on Facebook, but she's friends with so many people. And so I just sent her a DM and I'm like, I don't know, if you would ever be interested in anything like this, but we have a small production company and we're doing a feature film. We've done a couple other features, so we have some experience. We'd kind of like to have you be part of it. And she's like, well, of course, what are your filming dates? What's the location? Let me make sure I'm available. And like I say, just a real doll to work with. And she and I have turned out to be good friends.
Uh, uh, that actually will lead us to the second movie after one or two more questions. So after Corn Zombies was done and it was out and you guys saw it, did you think that it would be exceeding your expectations?
I mean, we thought people would like it because, as you mentioned, like if people like zombie movies, there's a lot to like in the film. And it's not just, everyone gets taken out with a shotgun, type of thing. So I think it's interesting the way it got put together. There are some people who just like all out don't like zombie movies, and so like there's nothing there for them in that case. But yeah, it's gotten great reviews. We used to have it on the AgriStar YouTube channel before we hooked up with Bayview, and we have like so many positive comments on it. It's just incredible. So, we're hoping that through Bayview, it's essentially kind of like a re-release since we had, kind of like released it on our own, that they can just extend the reach of the film and get more eyeballs on it.
Yeah. Uh, so, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this movie, Attack of the Corn Zombies, kind of to me felt like this is going to sound really weird, a family movie because you had the mother and her two daughters, you had the brother and sister, and you had the mother and daughter. It seems more like a family movie that might not end well for everybody, but still, uh, would is that a weird thing to say?
No, it's not. And part of that is Steve Herman's writing style. So he really is into developing the characters and makes you have feelings for the characters in the movies just through the writing style. So, I mean, a zombie movie, you could, have zombies pop out and and then people turn and, the more zombies and more death and more gore and stuff like that. But I mean, he writes the story first, and I find that like his style is part of what attracted me to EchoStar in the first place because I enjoy being in a film that has a true, story to it. I mean, I've been in some silly stuff, some student films where the story's not so strong and everything, and I enjoy the opportunity to act in anything, and we'll try to make the best out of whatever I'm given. But I really like the story, and there's also kind of like a hint of morality that is kind of like an undertone in the stuff that Steve writes as well.
Oh, yeah. Uh, so speaking of Lynn, you guys play sorority sisters in Night of the Dead sorority girls, our
Yeah.
babes.
Yes.
Uh, what was it like filming that movie? Because I can tell you what I liked about it, but I want to know what you liked about it.
I really liked the camaraderie that we had with the cast. I mean, you could think, if you take, there were, six of the younger ones and plus the two of us older ones, take eight women and, put them in an Airbnb for a week, like things could go wrong. But everybody got along really great. We all like supported and appreciated what everyone brought to the table. Everybody showed up totally prepared, totally ready to work hard. We goofed off when we were wrapped for the day, of course, and had some downtime. And that's nice because then you just get to know people more on a personal basis. But I mean, everybody just really, really pitched in on that one. It was a long week. I mean, it's hard to do a feature in 7 days. Um, but everybody was really cool about, sticking with it and like I say, helping out. I guess we would go from, room to room in this house that we had rented for the different scenes. We would always have to like, clear the room of all the personal belongings and stuff because we just kind of kept shoving things from room to room as we traversed the house. And everybody was always like, well, what can I do to help? Is there anything I can carry? You want me to put anything anywhere? I mean, even with dinner and dishes and stuff like that, I mean, people were helping me out left and right. So I really did appreciate that. And then the special effects on that one were pretty cool. A lot of different kinds of deaths. I mean, you can kind of guess from the title that there will be deaths or dead in there. But yeah, Steve wrote it so that the deaths are kind of reflective of the individual characters, which I thought was really interesting. And then when we read the script, he didn't hold back on his ideas for what he wanted to do, and I'd be like, wow, like how are we ever going to do that? And everybody had ideas, and the camera angles and the effects and, whether you actually show something happening or show after the fact or whatever. I don't have as much expertise in that area, so I really appreciated everybody, like, again, kind of just coming together and working as a team to collaborate and make all those things look really, really awesome.
Oh yeah. Speaking of the cast, I mean, for the independent scene, you guys had a cast of who's who. I mean, from top to bottom, it just seemed like every person, not relatively new to me, seeing a lot of these movies. Because I say it in every interview, and I'm probably gonna say it in every video, but I love movies so much, but independent in the last 2 or 3 years has really taken like top priority.
Mhm.
And like you you had Angela, you had Jessa. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Yeah, that
Was
was intentional.
oh yeah. Was it intimidating sometimes just because of the stage presence of like certain people, or was it just like you said earlier, just a big family?
It was really a family atmosphere. And like I say, I mean, nobody was a diva or standoffish or, like had demands or whatever. Everybody just, like I say, they just did what they needed to do. And yeah, and got along. Yeah, it was a really, really cool experience.
Oh yeah. Uh my favorite scene, my favorite kill was when you made Quiet Girl actually go quiet. I was like, she got it the worst, and no one could tell what was going on. I mean, I was like, that was pretty rad.
I appreciate that you paid attention to the fact that the quiet girl went quiet because I've seen reviews where they're like, what kind of crappy thing is that to just, have somebody not be able to talk? Well, you weren't paying attention.
Right. Uh, Actually, though, it's like every single character, literally, the way they went out kind of was kind of to the personality of what the character was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm taking that was very intentional.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And the effects, I love practical effects and just the way you guys were doing. I mean, I wouldn't use finger food. That's just me. But
And
that's a
I had
joke.
fun. And I had fun with that.
Uh, but was there a certain practical effect that you loved, like it stands up above everything else?
Well, I just want to give a lot of credit to Ashley Amberlin because she got the most dumped on her. No pun intended. Um, and she was a trooper. Yeah, yeah, that was a mess. But it was cool.
Oh yeah. Uh, so seeing that you and Lynn pretty much played the villains of the movie,
Hmm.
we can't forget Mia Katz.
Right. Yeah,
Uh,
she's a villain in her own right.
oh yeah. Uh, would you say that you two being the main villains in the film was that like perfect to the point of like generation versus generation?
Yeah, I mean there was some of that, and then also we are supposedly like actually sisters. But when we did the table read, both of us kind of read our characters very similarly. Um, and we decided that, there should be some difference between them. Like one should not be just a clone of the other because that would be boring for people. So I took on kind of the silly persona, and then Lynn's character is more like the business end of things. I mean, she treats everything very, very seriously about, what we're doing here. And I'm more like, oh, let's have some fun. Let's tear somebody up. And all that again was intentional so that there would be a better dynamic.
Oh yeah. Uh, without spoiling anything, I love the twist at the end.
Hmm.
Like when that happened, I was sitting there thinking like, well, is this not a kind of like mind screw? Because I was expecting one thing to happen. Next thing you know, it's like, hello. Uh,
Yeah, I've had people tell me that they've then like stopped it and like backed it up and watched that part again because they're like, whoa, like we didn't expect that to happen. So yeah, I'm glad that it's a very big surprise to people.
oh, yeah. Uh, would you say that there was a moment in filming that didn't quite go as planned, or maybe a certain effect didn't work the way you wanted it to?
Um, no, I mean everything pretty much went according to plan. I mean some some of the effects, it's kind of like we really need to kind of get this in one take. So, we would rehearse like the stages of it, and kind of, like block that out. But yeah, like once we started rolling, I mean, you could redo some of them, but it would just be a lot of undoing in order to be able to redo. So, it kind of puts the pressure on when you want to get it in one take. But, there's nothing like focus and motivation to bring out the best in everybody.
Oh yeah. Uh, there's one thing for this film that stood out to me, and it's not what a lot of people expect. Like I was even talking to my wife about it, but the way you and Lynn laughed, that was like to me that was a character in itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
It
Yeah.
was
Well,
refreshing.
the story is that we've been at this for a while. So, yeah, it's like a source of joy in a perverted sense.
Uh, so there was actually two twists. One kind of like maybe 10 to 15 minutes before the end, and then
Mhm.
the other twist was at the end when they opened that door and something was happening. I was like, huh?
Yeah.
Uh, again, my hat's off to you because if you could fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, well, I guess shame on me. But that was genius, just the way everything played out. And I don't think that anyone in that movie could have played any other character, and I don't think anyone else could have played those characters.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, if we tried to like switch some of the roles, yeah, it really wouldn't work out. So Steve kind of knew who he wanted to cast in that film and, kind of wrote the parts for that person essentially.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, like I say, it's all very intentional. I mean, a lot of times when we have a film, we may have certain people in mind. We do have some people that we have used several times. It's not necessarily an ensemble cast or anything, but once you build a relationship working with someone, that's a good reason to keep working with them because you already have that rapport. And we bring new people in, you got to adjust to each other a little bit. We have never had any bad experiences with anyone, but there is an adjustment in style, kind of on both sides. They don't know what to expect out of our group that's been together for a while, and we don't know what to expect out of this new actor. So, we will hold auditions for, some of the roles in the film. I don't know that we've done one. Well, if you go like way, way back when Steve was working more on his own, when he very first started out, yeah, he auditioned everybody because he didn't have a base of actors to pull from. But we've used several people quite a few times.
Yeah. So a co-director on this was Angela.
Angel, yes,
Angel, sorry, yeah. It's been a long day. Angel.
that's
Uh,
right.
she uh, phenomenal in pretty much every aspect that she's touched in film, and she directed a Disremembered.
Yes,
Uh,
a very
th-
different type of film. Yeah.
oh yeah. Uh, having her come from a background of already being able to direct and stuff like that, and just act and pretty much bringing on a different kind of respect for it. Her and Steve directing together, and correct me if I'm wrong, they both complement each other so well.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, Angel's a doll. She works so hard at everything, just puts her entire being into whatever it is that she's doing. And she also did SFX on Night of the Dead Sorority Baby, Night of the Dead Sorority Babies in conjunction with Kelsey Livingood. So yeah, she was just, from here to here to here. But so well done. Um, sometimes she would need a little time. I mean, it happens to everybody, whether you're an actor or director or producer, part of the crew. Sometimes you just need some time to kind of like, I don't know, rejuvenate or regroup or whatever. But we're all receptive to that. So if at any point anybody needs a minute or they need a break or whatever, let's just do it. Like there's no reason to say, oh, let's just try one more take, and then we can break. No, if somebody needs a break, they need a break. Um, and it tends to work in everybody's favor because then all of a sudden everybody will say, oh, geez, like, yeah, I was kind of ready for a break too. We've been at it a while or whatever. But yeah, Angel's a good communicator, and that's a big part of being part of a production team is to be able to communicate. Um, she had ideas jotted down on her script ahead of time of, different shots that she wanted. And so there has to be a lot of communication with the cinematographer because they know camera wise and lighting wise, like what's going to actually work. Um, it takes a while to set all that up. But again, the actors are all very patient, whether they need to be sitting in their places in order to get everything framed, or if, we can start to arrange things and think about blocking and stuff even without the people in the room. That communication between the director and the cinematographer and then the talent is really, really vital. And then the sound person as well, because like where's the microphone going to be for some stuff. Are we going to try to catch some ambient sound of the practical effects that we're doing, or do we know all that stuff's going to be taken care of in post, so we don't need to have the camera near, like when somebody's getting their throat slashed or whatever. Again, all that communication, we do some of it beforehand, like while we're doing a table read, and then we'll have a crew meeting on Zoom. But a lot of it just happens in the moment because you're in that environment and you're seeing what you have to deal with, and then kind of taking it from there.
Oh, yeah. We got about 9 minutes left. I like to always give my guests time to kind of, just give advice to anybody who's trying to get into the industry. So if there's any advice you would give to anyone trying to get into the industry, what would it be?
The networking is very important. I always used to think it's what you know, not who you know, but in the film industry, I mean, you still need to know your stuff, but you also need to know a lot of different people and learn from everybody. I'm a sponge when it comes to trying to absorb more information. Not that I'll ever be like the sound engineer or the lead SFX makeup artist or whatever, but if I can help, put a little bruise on somebody's arm while maybe some more heavy SFX is being applied to their face, yeah, I'm going to get in there and try to help out. So yeah, networking and then also just communicate with people. Don't make assumptions. If you have questions, ask the questions. Try to figure things out on your own, but be a good communicator as well.
All right. Uh, Also, with all the people you've worked with and directors you've worked with, is there anything you'd like to kind of like, if you haven't said something to them, is there anything you'd like to say now? Like congratulations or anything like that?
Well, I'm just really appreciative of all of the time that it takes to get a movie made. And a lot of that is unseen by a lot of people, particularly when it comes to things like writing the script. I mean, I don't even know how many hours could possibly go into that. I couldn't possibly like write a story myself. I'm not that creative. I can write marketing materials, but I can't write dialogue. What I always say. So I'm very, very appreciative of that work, that creativity that happens ahead of time. And then the whole post-production thing. I mean, there's a lot to do to glue together the pieces that we film, to get the transitions to be coherent, to do the color grading, all that minuscule editing and stuff. The sound is so, so important. I mean, all of those people, they're not seen a lot of times by the folks who view the movie. They may, notice a name at the end or whatever, and the music for the movie as well. I mean, you can't have a film with no music to help set the mood. It's just impossible because I've watched, rough cuts of the stuff that we do, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm sure it'll be cool eventually, but it's just not cool when all those details are not yet done. So, kudos to all those people that do all that stuff behind the scenes.
All right. Did you want to take a couple minutes and kind of plug all your socials and where people can see the movies and stuff like that?
Sure. So we have a Facebook group that has about over 5,000 people in it. It's called, oh, let me get it in front of me. Indie horror films from Acristar Productions. A little bit of a long title. But if you search on Facebook for Acristar, we have a page called Acristar Films, and then we have a group that has that longer name. The group is a little more active, it's a little more conversational. And we also have a website, acristarproductions.com, and that has links to our Facebook, our YouTube channel, and then we are getting ready to run an Indiegogo campaign for our next feature film, which is called Perfect Soul. And that is a supernatural thriller. We did last weekend, we filmed some select scenes as kind of proof of concept. And so we'll be releasing those, brand new poster, just a lot of photography over the weekend as well. Um, that's going to be a really good one. That's based on a novel written by Steve Herman. His pen name is S.J. Herman, so you can find the book on Amazon under S.J. Herman. He has adapted that to a screenplay, and so this is his first novel to screenplay adaptation. Very, very important to us as a production company. Very important to Steve. Very important to me. Got a fantastic cast. I mean, it was so cool to see these characters come alive. So we'll be launching that Indiegogo on March 14th is the plan. So you can just go on Indiegogo.com and search for Perfect Soul. And if you can give us some support, we always do a lot with a little bit of money. We'd like to have the opportunity to do even more with a little bigger budget, because we would like to even throw in a little bit of video special effects on this one for some of the scenes. And we do appreciate all of our contributors and all the support that we get from everyone, including you, for having me on tonight.
Oh, trust me, it's been my pleasure, like I said. And I tell everybody, when you come on NC-17, you have a home with us. You're more than welcome to come back anytime. you're a more classy person, so I'm not going to say what I normally say. I'll just say,
You could say anything to me.
well, even if it's just say, hey, you have a booger in your nose, you're more than welcome to come on and say it.
That's been fun.
You, it's been an honor and a pleasure, and thank you for coming on. And everyone, go on Tubi and watch. Actually, just go to their site, watch all the movies.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I try.
I
Actually,
agree.
I didn't rate the movies. I didn't do the reviews. I normally do a review and I rate my movies one
Oh,
through 10. So since I have you on, I'll do a live review now.
sweet.
So for Attack of the Corn Zombies, I actually gave that one an 8. So 10's being best, one being worst. So
Awesome.
that's up there. Uh Night of the Dead Sorority Babes gets a 9.
Awesome.
But that's because not because of what everyone's going to think. It's because the practical effects, the acting, everything in there was just perfect.
Oh, thank you.
So but it has been an honor and I appreciate you and thank you for coming on. And anytime you want to come back on, you're more than welcome.
I sure will. Thanks so much.
All right. Everybody, until next time, stay NC-17.